Hi everyone, Tyler Mannion here, NPC and IFBB Pro League Vice President. I'm here with a big announcement regarding our classic physique weights.
All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story I want to talk about today is going to tie directly into the second story. So, the physique update from Terrence Ruffin, Ruff Diesel, officially announcing that he will in fact be doing the Legion Sports Festival, which will be the last qualifier of the season to qualify for the 2023 Mr. Olympia, which Terrence still has to qualify for. So, in this update, Terrence is 9 weeks out. So I'll say the same thing about these updates that I said about the guest posing that we saw from Terrence just a few days ago, is that Terrence looked big in these updates. He looked big at that guest posing, and I talked about this a couple of videos ago, but I was surprised that he looked so big, knowing that he still got to compete before the Olympia, because I think the biggest issue he ran into at the Olympia was trying to make weight, not making weight, missing it by 1 pound, and then at the last minute having to try to lose that pound, and I still think that's why his physique was so thrown off at the Olympia, and that's why his placing was so low. And by the way, I think Terrence looks great here. I just thought that he looked pretty big considering. So the reason why I think this ties directly into our next story is because I think we're going to see a very different version of Terrence at both the Legion Sports Festival and the Olympia, because of what the second story entails. I'm going to jump directly into that here. So Tyler Mannion, who's the grandson of Jim Mannion and the vice president of the NPC/IFBB, just made the announcement that they will be raising the classic physique weight limits. And I think that Terrence is a really big catalyst for them doing this. I think Terrence's placing at the Olympia, him struggling with that weight limit, was a big reason for this, because they specifically address in this announcement the fact that the shorter guys in classic physique, i.e. Terrence Ruffin, are at a disadvantage because of the weight limits for the taller guys being disproportionately heavier than the shorter guys are allowed to weigh. So to remedy this, effective immediately, so this starts, they said, at this weekend's pro competitions, these new weight classes will be in effect, that for the height classes 6'1" to 6'2", they're only going to be getting an additional 2 pounds. And then the shortest height classes will be getting an additional 7 pounds of allowed stage weight. Now, in addition to that, there was another announcement that I think was really beneficial here, and I think this more relates to the issues that Ramon Dino had at the Olympia and other shows with his height not being consistent across the shows. So the inconsistency led to his weight class, what he was allowed to weigh, his weight limit, being different at different shows that were pretty close to each other. And that was the issue that he had at the Olympia. So his height was slightly taller at some other show or whatever, and that was the weight he was planning for because that was his height. And for some reason at the Olympia, he measured a little bit shorter, putting him at a different weight limit, specifically a lower weight limit. But they were able to fix that problem before he stepped on stage, whatever they did to work that out. But so what they're going to be doing, and this is not effective yet, but they said hopefully before the end of the year, is they're going to be assigning permanent heights to pros. And they said the way that they're going to try to do this is to take their height 3 different times, take the average of those 3 heights, and that will be the permanent height assigned to the professional athlete, which I think is a really good idea, and I think is going to solve a lot of these issues, because it's not just Ramon Dino that had this issue. This is something that a lot of people have dealt with, but I think Ramon was a really big example of how these inconsistencies can happen and really affect a show. Because had Ramon been assigned that lower weight limit at the Olympia, he probably wouldn't have been able to make weight. So I think overall these are 2 really, really good decisions. These are huge announcements. I mean, this is something that we've been talking about for really years now. The shorter guys being at a disadvantage in classic physique. I mean, it's been a conversation not just with Terrence, but with Breon Ainsley. I mean, that was one of the main reasons he left classic. So now I wonder if there's a potential that we see Breon return, because he was in one of those shorter height classes that's going to be receiving the 7 pound up increase in weight. But that's the reason that Breon left for 212, was he was having such difficulty making weight that he felt like his physique was suffering as a result of that. And if you read the comments on this post, it seems like the vast majority of classic physique competitors are happy about this decision. I don't even see any negative comments on this post, because I do feel like the shorter guys were at a disadvantage, and I think the fact that they gave the shorter guys a 7 pound increase and only a 2 pound increase for the taller guys, that prevents the issue that I think people thought could happen, is if you continue to raise the classic physique weight limits, these guys are going to start looking like open bodybuilders. And I think that was more the case with some of these taller guys. I mean, if you look at the higher end of the spectrum, the highest being the 6'7" guys, which are very few and far between, but they could weigh up to 284 pounds. But I think the more common, height range for these taller guys would be 6 foot to maybe 6'3", which is 227 pounds at 6 foot and 249 pounds at 6'3". And I think those are more the weights in classic where people were afraid, well, if we keep increasing these, you're talking about like open bodybuilding numbers. So I think the way they did this was smart by giving the shorter guys 7 pounds and the taller guys 2. So personally, I think this is a good thing. I'm not super worried about classic physique becoming bodybuilding light with these types of weight limit increases. I do think that these weight limits were becoming a very legitimate issue. I mean, Terrence Ruffin is a multiple-time classic physique Olympia runner-up, and he still had trouble meeting the weight limits, and he is about as professional as a professional classic physique athlete could get. He is performing and competing at the highest level, and he still missed weight. Breon, being a former Mr. Olympia champion in classic physique, struggling with making weight. He was the best in that division at one point, and he struggled with the weight limits. So I do think it was an issue. And I think there's probably a lot more examples in smaller pro shows and maybe lesser known names that struggled with this. But I think these guys, Terrence, Breon with the weight limits, and then Ramon with the height thing, these are just the more prominent examples that we all know about and have all been really prominent examples in the last year. But I really do think it's important to point out that this is a really big announcement because we're directly going to see these changes, not only at the next couple of shows, but these weight limits will be in effect at the Olympia this year. So this could affect what we see happen at the Olympia. And like I said in the last video talking about Terrence, I feel like Terrence is going to be back in that conversation. And I think with Terrence having this extra wiggle room in his weight class, I would not be surprised one bit if we see Terrence back up in that top 3. I think we will see noticeable changes in that top 6 at the Olympia as an outcome of these weight class changes. And I should also point out there will also be an amateur, so in the NPC, there will be a weight increase for classic physique as well, but those will not be in effect quite yet. Now, the final story that I've got for you guys today, the latest physique update from Nathan Asha, where I think he looks significantly sharper than the last update that we saw of him. So what we do know about Nathan is that he's going to be competing, I think he's probably going to do both, but he's going to be doing the European Championships, where we're also going to see Regan Grimes and Vitaly Ugonikov, a.k.a. Good Vito. But the Italy show that Regan is also doing is only a week away from that, and I feel like we might see Nathan do both. So I'm very interested to see how this show shakes out. I think we've seen a lot from Regan where he looks bigger than he's looked in a while. I mean, Regan looks significantly bigger. Good Vito obviously is a freak in his own right. I think that show is going to be a very interesting battle. And it's interesting with Nathan because he is a top-tier pro. He's a guy that can win multiple shows in a year. He's very good, but we haven't seen him compete in a United States-based show in a long time. No Arnold Classic Ohios, no Olympias for a couple years now, despite having been qualified for either the past 2 or 3 Olympias. So if Nathan wins this show and he qualifies, will he even be at the Olympia this year? I don't know. I don't know if there's anything preventing him from competing or not. I would like to see him on the Olympia stage, but I guess only time will tell. So that's going to wrap it up for the video, guys. I hope you did, in fact, enjoy it. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe, click that bell notification icon, and let me know what you guys think about these classic physique weight changes. Good, bad, neutral. And as always, I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power, signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power. My Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power. My secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.